This is episode number 56 of the Homeowner Show. Whether you're DIY or looking to hire, we're here to help you find the best information and options for you and your home. My name is Kevin Hackett, and here with me is Craig Williams.
Hello, and welcome to the Homeowner Show. We are glad that you could join us on this fine Tuesday. Although it's not Tuesday for us, it's Tuesday for you, because that's when the show comes out.
True.
If you haven't noticed yet, every Tuesday the show comes out.
Everyone, so far.
Yeah, we hadn't missed a Tuesday yet in over a year.
That's right.
We can now say in over a year.
Yeah, finally.
What's been going on, man?
Oh man, life has been busy and hectic, and I haven't been home much to even check on my home. But I mean, life is good.
It's still there.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, it's still there.
All right.
Nothing huge to complain about. Yeah, everything's just kind of rocking and rolling along and keeping busy during football season and all that kind of stuff. So life is what it is. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good, man. And like I have many things to share about the updates going on in my home, but I think I've decided to like keep all of them for like an expanded edition of the show one day to like just talk about, because like all of the things that we tell people about and how to do things, I've probably made most of those mistakes, even though we've talked about them on the show. And then like there's just all the other stuff that's just a complete, out of the blue. You never saw it coming. And
you probably should have just on individual occasions gone and found episodes and listened to them again.
Stupid. You talked about this.
Yeah, you just in the moment you get all frazzled. It's like, just make a decision.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I had my high school reunion this weekend.
Oh, dude!
And
what year was this?
None of your business. That's what. No, this was my 20th.
Oh man, you're old.
I am.
Although we graduated the same year.
And
so.
if I do say, I look good. But
you would be the one that would say that.
But. So I'm sitting down and having dinner with friends I haven't seen in a long time, catching up, and one of my friends who anyway, shout out to you, Kristen. I loved catching up with you and hearing about your family and what all's going on in your life. But she tells me like, "Hey, I listened to your show." Okay, and like, you listen to my show? And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, my first question that I wanted to ask was like, how'd you even know that I have a show? Like, I don't necessarily like push that. I mean, I do, but like I don't make it a big deal in like my personal circle.
Right.
And she was like, yeah, we and here was the really interesting part. She goes, yeah, we just moved back from Israel, and my husband has never owned a home. And so I started listening to it, and I noticed that you had it because I'd never owned a home, and I don't know how to maintain a home, and I don't, and it's just never been part of their life. And apparently, when he was growing up in Israel, everything was apartments.
Oh,
and that's just kind of how everybody lives, is in apartments.
Sure.
And so when they bought their first home, he was really excited about mowing his own lawn.
Oh man!
And she told me, and this is in Austin, Texas.
Dude.
And so one, it's hot, and two, there's lots of hills.
Yes.
And she said he made it like 2 stripes, and he was out.
Yeah. You got to have a self-propelled or like a riding.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a regular push mower.
No. And I wouldn't do it.
No.
I'd have made it 1 stripe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know that I would have even started it.
No.
So
wow.
Anyway, he got so there. She said they have a huge learning curve right now.
So how did they find out? Are y'all friends on Facebook, and that's how she found out?
I think she found it on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it was neat to hear that like people are actually finding the show.
Yeah.
Because they're new homeowners, and they're finding what we're putting out there valuable, and that they're actually learning something from it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that story. Like I'm interested to hear from some of those people. Like if you're listening to this show right now and you're just out there going, hey, I found your show, and this is something I found useful, let us know. I mean, email us at info@homeownershow.com, because those are things that help us get better. They're things that help us figure out, okay, these are the things that are resonating with people. And we've got a couple of really good shows that we're excited about coming up, that hopefully will be either fun or informative or both. But yeah, let us know. That's awesome.
And in that vein, I don't even think I told you, Kev, like we heard back from Ronnie, who sent us a message a while back, and he had sent us an email telling us like, hey, really enjoy the show, but he was also calling to let us know that he was flying into Houston because of the flooding.
Oh yeah,
that we mentioned on the last episode. And so I sent him a message back, and his parents' house completely flooded out.
Wow.
And so he was having to fly in. So thoughts and prayers with your family over there, Ronnie, because we want to, hope everything's okay. Glad everyone else made it out okay.
Yeah.
But, sorry for the loss over there.
Absolutely.
That's a tough thing to go through.
It is. It really is.
So, and it's a little bit different this go round.
Yeah. Yeah. Different people were affected this time than were during Harvey. It was a shorter storm, but it came really quickly, and so it was definitely different for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, we have a really cool episode today because we actually have our show sponsor on the show today. You guys have probably been hearing about DroneQuote for a while now, but we actually have Sinuhe Montoya on the line all the way from the beautiful state of California. How you doing, Sinuhe?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So right out of the gate, I kind of got to know, does anyone pull the Princess Bride joke with you ever?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I get that a lot. And I got that. So I spent some time in the Army, and, when you grow up, when you go into the Army, the recruiters or the drill sergeants, they go through your files. And they found, they saw my name, obviously.
Yes.
And to make matters worse, I grew up on a street called Gayland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And my last name was Montoya. Man, let me tell you, I got made fun of a lot. It was great, though. It was good.
Well,
gave me really thick skin.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, you wind up living with that long enough, and it's just kind of second nature. It's like, oh, never heard that one before.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that a jerk like me is not going to bring it up, though.
No.
No, you know what, though? It's a good icebreaker for people, so it's definitely a plus. I'm very lucky to have that name, I should say.
What I want to know is, have you ever used it as a joke and someone not got it?
You know what? No, I haven't. I hear it so often that I don't think to use it as a joke. That's probably why.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, although when I was stationed in Germany, nobody in Germany knew Princess Bride that I came across, but there was a race car driver by the name of Juan Montoya, I believe it is.
Okay.
And I got that a lot in Germany, but obviously on a different note from the Princess Bride. I would always tell people, he's my cousin. I'm like, how did I do that? No, I'm just kidding.
That's good.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Well, Sinuhe, tell us where this company came from, man, because this is a very different business venture than I think most people are used to encountering.
Yeah, you know what? I appreciate you asking. I used to sell solar in the home. I used to be a sales representative. I would come to your house and, I would sit with you for an hour and a half if you were lucky, or longer if you were a really nice person. And I would sit there and talk to you about the pros and cons of solar. Actually, I'd tell you about, how to acquire it and all the details about it. And, when a homeowner moved forward with my companies or the company I represented at the time, they would send out a site surveyor to get on the roof and do some measuring of the roof and measuring of the shade. And a lot of times, to save time, I would get on the roof and do all that stuff. And I realized that, I say this as a joke, but sort of serious. I'm 5'6", so I'm scared of heights. And I didn't like getting on roofs because, well, it goes back to what I just said. And there was this one particular roof. It was like, I have a 22-foot ladder that, is a foldable ladder. And the ladder didn't make it all the way to the top of the roof. So I leaned it against the wall. It was a flat roof. So, there was a parapet wall that I had to climb up onto. And I remember looking down and thinking to myself, holy smokes, it's a really long ways down. There's got to be something better than this. And this was in 2013, if I remember correctly. Okay. And at the time, drones weren't really a thing yet. So I sold my motorcycle, believe it or not. I had this really nice street bike, and I bought this like $3,000 drone, and I started using it to take measurements of the roof and to get a look at the condition of the roof, which was a lot quicker than obviously getting on the roof, and customers really liked it.
Yeah.
And it helped me. It actually became a sales tool. And that planted the seed for what turned into DroneQuote. And the other part of it was, whenever I came into a successful homeowner's house where I could see that, they had a huge, $2-3 million house, I stopped talking about solar and I started asking them questions about how they became successful. And almost all of them said, I started a business.
Yeah.
And when I kept hearing that from these successful people, I said to myself, I have this thing with this drone that's working out really well for me, and it's helping me, make more sales, and it's really making me more efficient. And these, well-to-do, successful people say, they became successful by starting a business. So I just ran with it and I started the business. And that was in 2017.
Oh, wow. So what is that? Is that 2 or 3 years now?
2.5 years. Although in all honesty, it took us, half that time to figure out what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I just started a business. All of a sudden we started generating revenue. It was definitely a learning curve. So we've been doing it for a little bit over 2.5 years. But it has definitely been, a learning experience. I wish I was smarter. I've said that to you guys already. I just wish I was a little bit smarter.
Well, so one of the things that we've done our best with is to kind of let people know this is who DroneQuote is, and we've given our little spiel based on some information that you've given to us and things that we've talked back and forth with to make sure that we're giving people good information out there. But we'd kind of like to hear from you. If you were pitching what you do and what this company is to someone else, what would you tell them?
That's a really good question. And thank you for the opportunity. I would say to somebody who is looking for a new roof or is looking to install solar, DroneQuote is an easy way for you to comparison shop multiple quotes that are accurate and that are delivered to you online in a hassle-free and very quick manner, so that you don't have to go through all of the sales presentations from multiple installers coming to your house, sitting with you for an hour and a half, walking your roof. We do it all in one fell swoop online, and you get very competitive pricing on either your roof or solar or both, and you do it with a lot less hassle. And because we broker the service of either of the two, we give you multiple quotes. That means that we have multiple chances to win that customer's business.
Yeah.
And that allows us to come in at a considerably more competitive price than would otherwise be the case.
Well,
The customer saves money, and they save a lot of time, and they don't have to go through the song and dance of in-home sales. And that's really been what's working for us and what people really like.
So what is the turnaround time for you guys on something like this? I mean, you come in, you measure the roof, you fly the drone up, you talk to the customer. How quickly are you guys able to get these quotes back to these guys?
So what we did, we changed the model a little bit recently. Well, not recently. I would say in the last 6 months. What we do is we guide the homeowner through the process of giving us some information from the site. Like, for example, taking a photograph of the main service panel.
Okay.
Where your breakers are at, uploading a copy of your bill, and going through a brief qualification call. We'll ask you questions about how you use electricity and whatnot. If you plan on adding an electric vehicle or adding an air conditioning unit to your property, and with that, we're able to turn around 3 quotes, next day if they needed it next day. Otherwise, we give a 3-day turnaround on all 3 on the 3 quotes, just to give us enough time to talk to other clients in the meantime. But we have done next day turnaround, and from there, the customer selects their quote, and the installers go out to do the site survey. So it really makes the process considerably quicker. Otherwise, you have to schedule an appointment with whoever's going to come by your home at whatever time they're going to come by, and you're subjected to those multiple quotes in a more drawn out manner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, I think that one of the things that I find so interesting about this is what you're telling me is a considerable amount of time savings. I mean, we've talked on this show before, especially with like our DIY calculator. Time equals money. Whenever you put stuff into our calculator, one of the things that it measures is how much is your time worth to you? Is it something you enjoy doing? Is it something that you're good at doing? Is it something you want to wind up ultimately be the one do the work? And at the end of the day, man, getting quotes from people and knowing who to go out there and ask for quotes and getting reputable people out to your house, man, that is a time consuming and potentially frustrating process.
You know what? It is. When I was doing it, when I was selling solar in the house, it wasn't always that I could see it, but there was times when I could just see it in the customers' faces that they really didn't want me there. They didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to entertain me. I was coming home when they were getting off of work, when it was convenient for them. And I would try and make the sale on the first call because that was what was expected of me. And that takes time, and when the sale did originate on the first call, I mean, it would not be shocking to hear that I was at a house for 3 hours. It really wouldn't be. And that's a long time, right? And that's just for getting the contract moving forward. That's not considering the other quotes that you went through getting. And it's not a pleasant experience, if you ask me. And I said to myself, I can do something about this. I have a good model in mind and a good idea. And well, I did, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it brings up a question in my mind, like what happens? I mean, you're talking about a very quick turnaround. What happens whenever I'm considering solar, but I really don't know much about it? I mean, you being in my house, giving me that 3-hour spiel probably answers a lot of questions for me. So how do I get some of those questions answered to me if I'm looking into solar and you're just sending someone out to do the site survey? How does that kind of work?
So that's a really good question, because in order to make a decision that you feel good about, you have to have the right information, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's going to allow you to feel comfortable with making a buying decision. And I compare that to being sold, right? When you're sold on something and it's not something that you necessarily wanted, there may be a feeling of regret or a feeling of, I just got sold. So what we do in order to provide this information is all of the quotes that we offer you are put together in a standardized, uniform manner from one quote to the next. So whether it's the scope of work or the components being quoted or the warranties that go with those components, it's all those details are going to differ from one another. However, they're all going to show up on a page that is uniform in display. So you can easily compare the warranties or the components from one to the next. And during our conversation, when we give the quote to the customer, because we still have a conversation with them, and it happens on a shared screen webinar. We're not actually going out to the house. We hop on a phone call. You can see my screen, and I walk you through not a sales call, but an informative call as to how to read through these quotes, and then the supporting documents to go through them to support the information in the quote. And by teaching you how to read the quotes and how to make use of this information, you can then look at all the other quotes and understand what you're looking at without having to sit through that hour and a half presentation of why this company is the best company for you.
Yeah. And I mean, I heard you mention components, and I know that's something that you and I have talked about on the phone before. Do you find that, like, in the quotes that you give, that you're having to sort of educate these customers as to the difference between the types of components? And obviously, I'm talking more about solar here, but are you guys talking about like the differences between like microinverters and panels and all the other things that go into the solar system? Because that can really affect the price, right?
We do talk about those differences. However, I will say that the difference in cost between a microinverter from Enphase or a single point inverter from SolarEdge, it's not a significant difference. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be a day and night difference. On a rather large system, then you would start to see the difference. But I'm talking about like a a 100+ panel system where you would start to notice a difference between the two. But there isn't a significant difference between those two components on a conventional size system. And we do give you the additional information, the supporting documents for these components. So, and we show you how to download them from your quote page. So we're able to go through this information in more of a teaching you how to read it through it than trying to sell you and get you to say yes approach.
Okay.
And when you I feel that when you educate somebody on something for the purpose of, teaching them about it so that they can make their own decision, it brings up different questions, and it also goes by a little bit quicker than me trying to convince you that you should buy from one particular company when I was in the house for, representing that one company.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to this. So whenever I was thinking through what it is initially that your company does with DroneQuote, I kind of likened it to a travel agent, in that a travel agent has multiple things that they can support and point you towards as far as opportunities for you to go travel. But you don't pay that travel agent to give you that information. The company that you're going to travel with, they pay that travel agent. And so, but that being said, my travel agent is kind of my point person. If I have questions about my travel experience or something that I need on my travel, I go to the travel agent. I don't go directly to the resort, for example, to get that information. So in your company, once I decide, yes, I want this quote from this particular vendor, do I still have you as a representative, or am I now going to be using the company that I choose to get the quote from? Do I start using their representatives for all of my future questions?
So anything related to the purchase or the acquisition of the roof or the solar system, the questions typically tend to come back to us, since we put together the quote and we put together the details and the pricing and whatnot. So those questions do tend to come back to us. The actual construction questions will go to your project manager for that particular company. When a homeowner moves forward with DroneQuote, we actually send out agreements from one of the companies that they choose. So you're actually making an agreement with that particular company. DroneQuote is in the agreement as the sales organization, right? And our license information and whatnot is built into the particular agreement. But you are then effectively making an agreement with that installer. And your example of a travel agent is a really good example of how to frame it, because you're actually, you're buying your vacation package with whatever resort that you choose through that travel agent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'll tell you up front, that is one of the most appealing things to me, because sometimes having an advocate to go and help you understand what you don't understand, and you're not necessarily the salesperson for that company. As a consumer, I tend to feel a little more protected. I feel like my best interests are being kept in mind, rather than the company just saying, oh, by the way, you need this and you need this and you need this, where I'm going, I really don't know if I do or not. Having you there almost as a buffer to kind of have someone on my side to say, you know what, they're trying to sell this, but honestly, it may not be in your best interest to have that. This may be better for you. That is really appealing to me.
That's a really good point. When I was selling in the house, I would come across homeowners who had a previous company come through, and sometimes I would almost be like shocked at what these other sales representatives were saying, because they were saying whatever they felt they needed to say, whether it was true or not, in order to get this sale.
Yes.
Because they only had that one opportunity from that company. They represented one company.
Right.
And if they didn't get the sale, they're out. Right. with the model that we've put together, I mean, we didn't invent this, right? It's a broker model. The model that we put together, we are able to represent multiple companies. So just by that model, we are going to show you something that's uniform across the board. If you need a service panel upgrade, or if you need to reduce the size of a tree because of shading or whatnot, it's all across the boards, and it applies, from one company to the next, because we want to earn your business, but we're not married to one particular company. So we have a lot more flexibility with what we offer. And as a result, we can be very, very straightforward and transparent with clients.
Yeah, and you're right. It's just a brokerage model. Insurance companies do this. I mean, travel agents do this. There's a lot of places out there that do this, and there's a reason that people choose that sort of business to go with rather than a direct sales company. And so I appreciate you confirming to me that I had it straight in my mind, that's kind of the model that you're working with.
Yeah, and that's definitely that pretty much sums it up. I just saw the opportunity to, when I was selling in the house, the frustrating thing for me was, man, you know what? If I don't get this client, I don't have another chance. And that's it. I'm out of the picture.
Yeah.
I want to build a business where I have multiple opportunities with that particular client. And as DroneQuote expands into the future, the beauty of using drones, aside from safety and efficiency and everything, is that they're super accurate with measuring all sorts of things outside, right? Yeah. So in the future, we'll be able to offer, besides roofing and solar, we're thinking about other services that we'd be able to offer that would include things like artificial turf, or sod replacement, or sod installment, or other things that are measured or maybe hard to measure with just having somebody on the ground using the drone, and then offering it as a service through the DroneQuote model.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sinuhe, what do you think is the biggest difference between like a regular salesperson coming to your home and like, I think we see this a lot where like you can click on, there's all sorts of ads that you can find on like Facebook and Google, and say click here for free solar from state of Texas or from California or whatever. What's the biggest difference between contacting someone like that and then say DroneQuote coming out and talking to you about your solar system or your roof?
So, in my opinion, and coming from, the guy that founded this company, although I will say I should give a shout out to my partner, my co-founder, Riley Wiggins, really smart guy. Huh. The biggest difference is we're going to just be very straightforward with you. I want you to have the best buying experience, and I want you to have the best information and most accurate information so that you can make a buying decision that's good for you. And sometimes that includes telling people, you know what, I don't think solar is the right fit for you based on whatever the variable may be. Whereas somebody who comes into the home, again, it goes back to, I need to make the sale because I only have one shot at it. Especially when it comes to those companies that put up on Facebook, free solar from the state of California or whatever.
Yeah. You guys see that
Texas.
too?
Oh my God. It's so frustrating to see that, because there's no such thing as free.
Right.
Like, we know that. And it's, if you're starting off on the wrong foot with, how you're propositioning the system, in this case, free, right, you're already starting off on the wrong foot, in my opinion. And not to mention the fact that a lot of these lead generating companies that, put up these ads, what they'll do is they'll take your information and they'll sell it to as many installers as, they can get to buy that information.
Yeah.
So now Kevin or Craig, you would put your information and you're getting blown up with a bunch of phone calls.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a lot of, different people wanting to call you for a solar appointment. We don't sell any information to anybody. If somebody gives us their information, it dies with us, right? Yeah. And we don't sell it. And if you don't want to buy from us, that's fine. Nobody else is going to call you.
Yeah. I think that's an important point, man. I don't think a lot of people realize like how valuable their personal information is online. And the reason they hound you is because they spent bukus of money to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your phone number and your email address, especially if they're legitimate, like $125.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and you think about like buying that on large scale from these guys that are generating these lists. I mean, like that's a ton of money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I mean,
absolutely. And then,
I was going to say these guys are highly incentivized to like dog you.
Oh yeah. And then the other thing is they'll throw these wild discounts at you and say, you know, like we'll offer you $2,000 off. I love we'll offer you X amount of dollars off if you move forward by a certain time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, just offer a competitive price from the get-go.
Yeah.
Let's remove all the gimmicks. Let's remove all the BS, and let's remove all the things that people hate to deal with when they're buying something like this, for example. And let's just make it easy. Let's be straightforward with people. Let's show them the best possible price that we can show them, and do so in the least threatening and invasive manner that we could possibly do that. And again, that's the DroneQuote model that we've built.
When I heard you mention earlier that part of the question process for like setting up a solar account is like, are you planning on having an electric car? And so are there other things attached to the solar system that you do? I'm thinking like whole home battery. I'm thinking, car plugs. I'm thinking, because typically those are going to be for like Teslas and things like that. So do you guys accommodate all those things in your quotes if you need to?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll accommodate a battery. We just did a system for a homeowner here in the area with a battery. The plug for the vehicles, that's a really common occurrence. I personally, want to make sure that we can be as close to a one-stop shop as possible. And thus far we have been.
Yeah.
We'll accommodate just about anything that the homeowner, within reason, obviously, that we could offer the homeowner to make the best buying decision.
And do you know that or not do you know, I imagine you're more familiar with the different incentives state by state, and you guys are in 9 states now, and I would imagine you're a little bit more familiar with ones in California. What are some of those? I mean, because those are the kinds of things that they use to say this is free or this is 50% off, whatever they're doing, because of the state and federal incentives that they're providing right now. What do those actually look like right now?
In California, the state incentives have been used up. Different states will have different incentives. Different utilities have different incentives.
Yeah.
I will take that question and segue not necessarily into the incentives, but more importantly into the rates that each utility has. They're also different. Like, for example, in Texas, I believe, your specific part of Texas, it's more of a volume based rate where, you get charged just by the volume of electricity used.
Yeah.
In places like Arizona, they'll charge you more on the volume, of course, but also the demand. So how much electricity you're using at a specific time in 30-minute increments.
Okay.
So if you're running your AC and you're running your pool pump and you're running your plug, you have your charger for your vehicle plugged in, you're going to get charged more than the neighbor next door who's just, running their TV, for example, because you're drawing a lot more demand to your property. In places like California, there's what's called time of use, where if you use power from that time of 4 to 9, for example, the cost of electricity almost doubles.
Oh my gosh.
Versus, it's ridiculous. Versus like 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's more of a supply and demand thing. Now, those tend to be more static, whereas the incentives, they go. Sometimes they're funded by the state, and then they go really quick. In other cases, they're refunded at a different, the next year, or a different utility may come up with a different incentive. Like, for example, in California, there's a new incentive. Well, it's not new anymore, but it's actually exhausted, last I saw, for batteries, right?
Okay.
So, the incentives definitely, change by location, and they change by utility, and that's always something to be mindful of. But more importantly, because you live with this, are the kinds of rates that you're being subjected to by a particular utility.
Okay.
And all of that plays into how the solar systems is designed. Cool. Actually, can I give a quick example of that? Because
please.
It would make a lot of sense to people. I had a client in Arizona recently who he had a significant amount of usage, and he wanted the biggest system, and the biggest system we could fit on his roof. And we were able to accommodate that based on available roof space. And after sitting down and talking to him, I was able to talk him out of buying that bigger system, which of course was going to cost him more money because obviously it's greater in size. But I said to him, hey, look, if we can just decrease the size of your system and orientate your panels in a certain direction, west, and also install a demand controller. So this is a unit that pretty much limits how much demand your service panel can pull at a certain time.
Yeah.
You're going to save money on those demand charges. You're going to save money on the size of the system. And overall, you're going to have a lower monthly payment. And believe it or not, it actually took me a few days to have him see my perspective. But once he moved forward with a smaller system with a demand controller in place, he actually called me back and he said, hey, I called the utility when my system was turned on, and they asked me if I had a demand controller, and they were so happy that the company that sold me the system did install a demand controller because it made a lot of sense for me, and they explained it to me and I get it.
Huh.
And I was super happy with that because we were able to put together a better fit system for him that saved him. It was like a $10,000 difference.
Oh, wow. That's a
so
good chunk of change.
I felt really good about that.
Yeah.
And it's significant. I felt really good about that because that's doing right by the homeowner.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. I love stories of companies out there that are going, we are not gouging you, because there's so many out there that will. And it's easy to do because you got people that just think, bigger's better. And it may not be.
No, you're right about that. It is easy to do. And you know what? As a, how do I say this? Maybe a disclosure or a heads up to homeowners that are installing solar, whether you call whoever it is, DroneQuote or ABC Solar or what have you. The one thing that you definitely want to be mindful of is the lower interest rate options. There's solar loans that offer you a 2.99% interest rate.
Yeah.
That sounds really good, right?
Sure.
2.99%.
Yeah.
Like, I want that. Give me that, please. What a lot of companies won't tell you is they'll show you the cash price and they'll show you the finance price, and it's the same number. Well, really, it's not. There's a significant amount of front-loaded interest built into those lower interest rates. So you're pretty much buying down the interest.
Right.
And anybody in the solar industry that is against what I'm saying, they're going to have it out for me. But this is really good information for the homeowner. The solar loans are great, but it's so easy to build in a higher system cost because the monthly payment is lower. It's spread out over 20 years.
Sure. And,
the sales guy just made $5,000 on that deal when really, you could have saved $4,000 and the homeowner could have saved $4,000 and either finance the system through their own means, like a home equity line of credit or, cash out refi, or, if they're going cash to begin with. The solar loans are great. Don't get me wrong. I use a solar loan for my system.
Yeah.
But you have to be super cognizant of what all that price includes, because a lot of times it includes a lot of fees. And if you're talking to the wrong sales guy, it includes a high commission that you're paying for.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's transition for just a minute, because you don't just do solar, you also do roofs, correct?
We do.
Yes. So roofs are a little bit different because you're not out there, paying for the full roof, because most people are required to have homeowners insurance. And if you have homeowners insurance, then if it's time for a new roof, whether it's, it's aged out or you've had damage from wind or hail or a storm or something, a tree fell on it, whatever it is, they're going to pay for the majority of the cost of that roof, minus your deductible. So, what are some of the differences that you see? Because it's in my mind, it would be easier to go find a roofing company because I know that at the end of the day, I'm paying my deductible, versus you calling DroneQuote and saying, "Hey, I want." You to come out and do this for roofing. Tell me a little bit about the differences as far as that goes.
So, when we go about it with DroneQuote for a roof, I will say that there's no substitute for having somebody walk on your roof. Like that's the way you're going to, in one sense, get the closest to the most accurate quote that you could possibly get. So when we quote through DroneQuote for a roof repair or roof replacement, we quote by square footage for the cost of, replacing that section of roof.
Okay.
And there's language into the quote that says, something along the lines of, this is a quote for replacing that section of roof or the entire roof or whatever the case may be. But upon pulling off material, there may be additional costs that are incurred when damage that is underneath the underlayment if it's found, right?
Right.
So we do tell the homeowner in detail why that price may change.
Yeah.
So I am mindful of that, and I do talk to homeowners about that. Now, having said that, I replaced my roof in 2015, I think it was 2016, one of the two. And I had multiple roofers come out to my house. So they climbed on my roof and they walked it, and then I got my quote. And all of those quotes said the same exact thing that I'm telling you right now. They said, "Hey, look, this is your quote to replace the entire roof. However, once we pull off the overlayment, in my case, it's a flat roof, and it had tar and gravel.
Yeah.
Once we remove all the tar and gravel, if we find wood rot or if we find other damage or wear and tear on the roof that was not visible at the time of the quote, your quote is subject to change based on that."
Yeah.
So
sure,
that's always part of the roof quote in all the quotes that I've seen, whether somebody was on your roof with their 2 feet or whether it was the imagery was captured with the drone. So that is shared by both quoting methods. So I do definitely make it clear to a homeowner from that perspective.
Yeah, I just feel like on some level that with roofs, my risk is different. My risk is different in that at the end of the day, I should, if my homeowner's insurance is worth its salt, I should only have to pay my deductible. That being said, I still don't know necessarily what reputable companies are out there. And so I guess one of the questions that I've got for you, and this is specifically to roofs, but I think it kind of bridges both gaps. How do you determine who you're going to do business with? Because again, I'm trusting DroneQuote that they are using reputable companies versus me just trying to go out and find my own company to do this. I don't know who's reputable. I'm trusting that you do.
Mm-hmm. So I love this question because we address it in how we present not the quotes, but the installer's information. What we do when you get a quote from DroneQuote, you see there's a section on our page as you log in as the user where you could see it says our partners page, right? And you click on that page and it loads the companies that have submitted quotes for you, and it loads all their insurance information, all their bond information, all their license information, all the details relative to that company. We aggregate reviews from Yelp, from Google, from the Better Business Bureau, and I think that, Yelp, Better Business, and Google. So all of that is in one centrally located place on our website for that company that submitted a quote with a third-party link that takes you back to that specific state's license board for contractors.
Okay.
So you can click on that company's, in California, it's the CSLB. You can click on the contractor state license board button, and it opens up in another window, California's CSLB website with that link populated for that installer. So you could see all of the information that we put into our website was drawn from the state of California. And then furthermore, what we do when we bring on new installers is we look them up in county records of their wherever they're located for county court records to make sure that there's no standing litigation against them or what the previous litigation was, if there was any.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that our listeners and anybody who's considering using DroneQuote should really consider is that you're doing a lot of that legwork for them. And again, you can get on and do your research, and you can spend time going through the Yelp reviews, the Google reviews, going on the Better Business Bureau, making sure that there's no litigation against these companies. You can ask friends who have used companies and try to make the best decision, and that's well and good. But again, we're talking about time. We're talking about energy. We're talking about just the ability to know how to do those things. And it sounds to me like you're just really making that process super simple.
Yeah, we started out that way because I came across, when I was selling the home, homeowners who shared with me stories of how they had poor experiences or bad experiences with contractors doing other things around the house. And, once you learn how to do this kind of research, it's easy to show other people, the results of that research. But most people, they don't know to look up the license information. They don't know to look up the records of the court for any past litigation. It's just, how often do you install a roof? Yeah. How often are you installing solar? Yeah. So you don't know what to look for. You don't know what questions to ask. And I will even go as far as to say that, whether it's DroneQuote or not, don't take my word for it. That's why we put those third-party links into our website, so that it's not us telling you this. It's the state of Texas. It's the state of Florida. It's the state of Colorado or California or wherever it is that the homeowner we're helping to acquire solar roofing, so that it's not coming from us, but it's coming from an authority beyond us and greater than us in this case.
Yeah. And I think most people are listening to that going like, that sounds like a really good idea. I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's everything that you're saying is like, man, that'd be a really good idea for people to do, but they're just not going to take the time to go to the county records.
It's too much trouble.
And not only is it too much trouble, they don't know how to do it. Like I just had, I went to dinner at my neighbor's house, and they said, hey, the solar company, this was last night actually, the solar company, this solar company came and knocked on my door, and so on or whatever. So I took the card and I did research on them, and I found through the Secretary of California or whatever the website was, it's .ca.gov or I don't know. And I found their LLC had been canceled. So they're not a real business, but they're knocking on doors, offering to sell you something. So if their LLC or their company is not, up and running the way it should be, I mean, they're probably cutting other corners as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would even go as far as to say, look, if you're a listener out there and you're doing anything to your house, right, where you're planning on spending a significant amount of money to renovate or to put on a new roof or whatever the case may be, please take the time to look up the license information.
Yes.
Take the time to go through the court records in your county to look up any litigation on the company. Take the time to, follow up on the reviews that you have a gut feeling about, because ask hard questions to the company directly, because by doing so, you could literally save yourself tens of thousands of dollars in making the wrong choice, and hopefully not litigation, right? Not taking it that far.
Yeah.
But doing the right research can save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
And hassle.
And you said something there that's so important is if you don't get this done right the first time, then you're going to have to do it again. And doing it again is going to cause you to spend a lot more money. It's going to cause you to spend a lot more time, more frustration. And, at the end of the day, doing it right the first time is what you wanted to do to begin with, right? You really want to get this done right the first time. So rather than, go through the rigmarole of just trying to find the cheapest or the quickest or the one that's next door or whatever, having someone out there like DroneQuote to do the work for you, to do the legwork of this for you, it's not necessarily saying take it out of your hands, not just trust DroneQuote, wholeheartedly, and that sort of thing. You're putting it out there. I can go look for it. It's just all in one place, and so now I know where it's at. It's easy for me to look through if I want to do that, and I know I have that information at the click of a button.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I always tell people, well, not always, but when the conversation goes in this direction with a homeowner, I'll tell them, look, do research on the companies that we put together for you. do research on DroneQuote. All right, look for us in court records. Do research on me. Do research on me because I value my name and my reputation so much that I'm not going to give it up for anybody. For anybody. And I'm sure as hell not going to give it up for one sale.
Right.
So don't take my word for it. Research me if you feel that that's what you need to do. But you know what? I guarantee you're not going to find anything because I haven't crossed anybody. Because that's how you burn bridges. That's how you make a mess of your name, and that's how you go out of business.
Right.
Yep. Absolutely. So, Sinuhe, since we've been kind of talking about roofs a little bit, but is there a good reason if you're going to be doing solar to go ahead and get the roof replaced?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, actually, and it's something that I did myself when I put on solar. I probably had about 5 years left on the roof, but It just didn't make sense that I would put on panels and then pay to take those panels off and then redo my roof. I just did it all at the same time.
Sure.
So, it definitely makes sense to replace your roof if it's near end of life, if you're thinking about installing solar. And, in some cases, you can get away with just replacing the section where the solar panels are landing. If you're talking to some of the companies we work with that do roofing and solar. So, we'll throw, if the homeowner wants it, we'll throw in a quote for the entire roof to include the solar as well. But yeah, I definitely think that if you're installing solar and your roof is near end of life, do yourself a favor and replace the roof at the same time if it's within your budget. Yeah,
because it's going to cost you more money later on down the road. You're going to have to take everything off in order to get to it. Yeah, absolutely. And then, the thing is, if you put on a new roof with solar, you can put the footings on the wood, directly onto the wood, and then cover up those footings with your tar paper, and then, with your comp shingles. It's a lot more, it's a better install method.
It's more eye appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes for an all-around better installation, and it's worth the money, in my opinion.
And I'm actually a little curious about your roof because, around here, flat roofs are not common. Is there a benefit to that? Do you like that? What's that like?
I personally don't like having a flat roof. No, I just was a first-time homeowner when I bought this home. I was younger. I didn't know my left from my right when it came to buying a house.
Yeah.
I would not buy another home with a flat roof. It's more expensive to replace a flat roof. The lifespan is considerably shorter.
Oh, wow.
Water pools on my roof on a certain section. It's not a good setup, but it is what it is, right?
That's right.
Why do they use, again, ignorance. Why would they install a flat roof on a home?
So my home was built in 59. And older homes here in this part of the country, have flat roofs. Not always, but a lot of times. And there isn't any snow where I live, right? So there's no weight.
Sure.
There's no weight on the roof. So it was a common way of installing roofs with tar and gravel, actually. So you had a little pebbles or gravel on the roof and little rocks. With a bunch of tar, and then they put the gravel on. It's not my favorite.
Was it kind of like an aesthetic architectural thing that they were doing back in the, whenever?
The color of the house was original to the house. It was a blue color, and they had a white tar and gravel roof. So from that perspective, it looked all right.
Yeah.
But then when you climb the roof, actually, when I climbed the roof. Shortly after I bought it, there was like moss buildup or some sort of moss-like growing on my roof. And all the pine needles from the pine tree would build up and it would keep water and it would stay moist. It was, oh my goodness, it was not a good setup. I keep saying that, but I always tell my wife, I'm like, man, I wish we'd have bought a different house, but it's my house now, so I take care of it. I get on the roof and I inspect on the. Well, actually, I don't get on the roof. I take that back. I get on the roof when I clean my panels, but otherwise, I use my drone. It's
there you
great.
Go.
Yep, that's why you have it.
And by the way, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask what kind of drone are you rocking these days?
So how we use our drone, We don't need the latest and greatest. We use a Phantom 4 Pro.
Okay.
We use two of those. The pilots that we send out, because if they're like, if it's not here in the San Diego area, obviously I'm not going to go out to the house.
Yeah.
They typically use either Mavics, so the Mavic series, or a Phantom 4 is very common. And the reason being is that the Phantom 4, the DJI series of drones, they pair very well with this software called Drone Deploy.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that. But it's a flight automation software. So you plug in your route, if you will, and then the drone does all the flying by itself.
Nice.
And Drone Deploy works really well with DJI drones. But I was actually going to make a mention of one of the benefits of DroneQuote that came to mind when I was talking about my roof. When a homeowner moves forward with DroneQuote, this is a change that we made to the model. When DroneQuote moves forward, when a homeowner moves forward with the DroneQuote, at that point in time, then we send out a drone to the home to do the measurement and do the survey of the roof. So what that allows us to have is a before photograph of the roof and measurements.
Yeah.
And then we do an after. So we could say to the homeowner, hey, look, there's broken tiles here, or whatever, or there's this issue on the roof here. And we could actually show it to the homeowner, right? And then after the installation takes place, we go out and we do that survey again. And then we could show the homeowner, look, you're not going to get on your roof, obviously, if it's a 2-story house. This is what your roof now looks like with solar panels.
Yeah.
And this is the close-up of the tiles or the roof material in the section of roof where the panels were installed, for you to see that the integrity of the roof is what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no way, and this is something that I think people need to understand, there is no way that a person standing on a roof with a camera can get the kind of shots that a drone can get. It's just not possible.
No, there isn't. No, you're 100% right about that. We went out into, I have a home that I did, this was a few months ago, where they had just purchased the home, and we went out and we flew the drone after they'd moved forward, and we found this little nook. It was like this little nook on the section of roof that the inspector must have missed. And the tiles, the concrete tiles, in one row of tiles had, one column of tiles had completely been dislocated, and they'd started sliding down, and you could see the underlayment, the tar paper. It was it was completely missed at the time of inspection. Wow. Nobody had a clue about it until we went out there and looked at it. It was it was so hidden in like this nook, and I was able to show the homeowner. And I think the homeowner ended up reaching out to the inspector. I don't know how that ended out.
Not pleasant, I would imagine.
No, probably not, because they probably paid like $400 or $500 for that inspection. But we were able to spot it immediately and show it to the homeowner.
And that's awesome.
And it wasn't anywhere where we were installing solar, but it was a benefit of our service, right? They were able to understand that was taking place and have it rectified.
Yeah, and let me ask you this, and I asked this a little knowingly, but like, should you have anyone that's unlicensed come fly a drone around your house?
If you are a risk taker and you don't mind, any litigation that may come your way from any accidents, yeah, by all means do it. But otherwise, otherwise don't do it. Because, if you're flying drones professionally, you should have an FAA certificate. We carry a
which by the way, I mean, just for everybody listening, it's not difficult to get.
No, it's not. It isn't. It's not. You're right about that. It does take effort, though, and that's where most people stop.
Yeah.
And if they're not taking the effort that it takes to, go through this license process, then what makes you think that they're going to carry the level of insurance that they should be carrying?
Right.
Yeah.
Which if they have insurance and they don't have a license, then you might as well not have insurance, because it's not going to be covered, right? And you know what? In full honesty, I'm not perfect. I've had my mishaps at a property before. And I was able to tell the homeowner, hey, my drone busted up on the ground and messed up I crashed into a bunch of little pieces, right? But that was covered by insurance, and had anything happened, we would have been able to cover any damages to the property or what have you, because accidents happen, right?
Yeah.
And you want to make sure that whoever you're working with is, one, taking measures to avoid accidents. 2, has the right insurance, and 3, of course, has a license to be doing what they should be doing.
Yeah. But not only that, I mean, these drones can actually cause big problems up in the sky if you're flying them improperly and, doing things with them that you're not supposed to be doing them, flying them in areas that they're not supposed to be flown. You can cause all kinds of problems. I mean, so
you can, and actually, what happened in the case where I had a mishap with the drone is I was there was a bird, a large bird. I think it was a raven or a crow that came. I must have gone close to a tree where it had a nest, and it started dive bombing the drone. And I tried to get away in a hurry, and in doing so, I clipped a palm tree, and that's what caused me to fall out of the sky. But there's so many things out of your control that if you don't plan for the repercussions of an accident happening by however it may happen, then you're really setting up your client for a bad time.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, so we're coming up on an hour here. So just want to ask you, is there anything that we have not discussed that you would like to let our listeners know?
Yeah, you know what? I will share one thing that I take a lot of pride in. When people come to DroneQuote, they're going to be well taken care of. They're not going to be pressured or pushed into anything that they don't want to do, whether it's a roof or solar or what have you. We're here to educate you. We're here to help you make a strong buying decision. And when you do business with DroneQuote, you are doing business with a veteran-owned company, and I am that veteran.
Okay.
And that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
It means a lot to us, man. We appreciate your service.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? I will say this, having joined the military was the best decision I've ever made, and it was all my pleasure. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Okay.
When did you join?
I joined right out of high school. I joined at the age of 18, 2003 it was. So I joined actually because September 11th happened, and I felt, compelled to join as a result of that. And I got to experience a little bit of the Middle East on 2 all expenses paid trips to Iraq.
Nice. Congratulations.
It was great. Yeah, they covered my room and board. I got to travel around the country, and they paid me to do it. It was great.
Yeah, there you go.
I really would do it again. And actually, you know what? I should say that's really where the original seed for drones and my affinity for drones happened or was planted, because we benefited from a lot of the imagery that these drones were capturing out there. And I would always see them or hear them flying in the sky. It was super cool, and it really intrigued me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they're using huge drones for a lot of
they're using real drones. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They're using real drones. I'm using
these are
what
toys.
Is that, really? Yeah, really. By comparison, it is a toy.
It's a remote control toy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They happen to be really sophisticated, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Sinuhe, it's been our pleasure to talk to you, but we can't let you off the hook. I mean, just because you're a sponsor doesn't mean that you don't get subject to the Final Four.
The Final Four.
So you've listened to our show before. You know what we're about. You know these questions. You probably had these.
So if you didn't study, it's your own fault.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But here they go. We're just gonna break out in them. The first question's, what's the must-have tool you won't leave your house without?
You know what? This is such a lame question because nobody leaves home without it. But I use my mobile device for more than just calling and surfing the web. Whenever we go out to a property and take all these images, I load everything onto the cloud on the spot through my phone.
Yeah.
And I confirm all my images from the drone with the phone. And I fly the drone with my phone as well, the controller as well.
I was fixing to ask you that.
The phone is way more than just an internet device for me, just by how I use it for uploading data and moving data across the cloud. I found out the hard way that sometimes the drone will overwrite images, and so I started uploading everything directly from my phone. So I plug in this little memory card adapter to the phone, and I just start uploading immediately after taking the images.
Okay.
So I know that's such a lame answer, but I really don't leave anywhere without it.
No, it's the number one response to this question.
It is. Yeah, and I expect it will just continue to be so, because I mean, these devices are so much more than something that you talk on. In fact, most people don't talk on their phones. So
Yeah.
You're right about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a computer, and computers are really, really important in the day and age that we live. So yeah, absolutely. Great.
It's kind of like when you ask entrepreneurs, what's the best business book out there? Almost every single one of them is like Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
You know what? I really, that's not an answer I would give.
Oh, really?
I would say How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one.
That's a really good book. And a lot of the things that you learn in that book can easily be applied to business.
I actually think that was something that Jordan brought up when he was in here talking about home automation. Didn't he talk about?
I think he did.
Yeah, that was like his book.
Yeah.
So
anybody out there listening, I got to tell you, like when I first read that book, my income went from like whatever it was at the time, and it increased by like $15,000 the next year.
There you go, Kev.
Wow. I don't think it works in my business. However, I don't own my own business either. So there's that, right? There's that.
Well, I still recommend you read it, man. I'm telling you,
Okay.
I go places and I use those. I don't want to use the word tactics, but I use the things I learned from that book in different places, and you can't believe the free things I've gotten and the tickets I've gotten out of for just using that approach.
Oh, wow.
I do like things and tickets.
Kev knows that if he
not getting tickets, not getting tickets. I'm talking about out of tickets because of
Okay, I don't like those types of tickets. All right. Well, let's go to the second question. What's a job you walked away from?
Oh, you know what? That actually happened today.
Oh, okay.
Today, this morning, I had a sales call with somebody, and the homeowner said, I'm on quote number 8 right now, and your 3 quotes are going to round out 11 quotes.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah. And the other quotes, the other 8 quotes that he got were in-home sales quotes.
Yeah.
So, anytime that somebody has, an obscene amount of quotes, the likelihood that I'm going to deliver something that, they're looking for is super low, because those people are typically, just shopping. And then there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if somebody tells me that they've got a boatload of quotes, I usually will tell them that we probably can't help them. And we typically do walk away from those.
Okay. That's good to know. All right. Third question. How do you wind down at the end of a long day?
So I have 2 small kids. And my son, he reads a lot. For a 6-year-old, it's super weird. I wasn't reading until like I was in the 12th grade. So I like to read with him. I like to spend time with him and my daughter too. I spend time with my children.
Okay.
A lot of that has to do with, I think my father wasn't present when I was a kid. So I definitely, want to have my kids grow up with wonderful, hopefully, memories of growing up with their dad always at their side. So I spend as much time with them as I can, because, I work a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And Craig and I will be on that same ship with you, sailing as far as we can, as far as dad's being present, man. That's a huge, huge thing. And if you're a dad out there listening to our podcast right now, man, when you get done with this, go hug your kids and spend some time with them, because dads are so hugely important in kids' lives. So we'll put that plug out there.
Absolutely.
All right. Fourth question, last question. What's one of the best pieces of wisdom or advice you've ever received?
You know what? I will reference that book again, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It just changed how I interact with people. But besides that, there's 2 pieces of advice that came up when I was selling solar. And that was, these well-to-do people would tell me that the way to their financial freedom was through business ownership. And I really took that to heart. Obviously I started a business. And the other piece of advice that was given to me by a rather successful individual was, who you partner with in life or who you marry is a key to success. And I do wholeheartedly believe that, because I'm very fortunate to be married to the woman that I am. So marrying the right person and starting a business were definitely two really good pieces of advice that I received.
Awesome.
Yeah, you get those two things right and sky's the limit.
That's right.
Seriously, man, you're not kidding about that. It's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very true. You are a product of the people that you surround yourself with, for sure. And so, yeah, it's good stuff. So, well, listen, man, it's been fantastic getting to round out a little bit of the thing that we've been pushing and trying to get our folks out there that are listening to know more about DroneQuote. Thank you for taking the time to help us understand a little bit more about who you are and what your business is, listen to your heart a little bit and what you want to do with the business. And man, it's just been a pleasure for us.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. I've been definitely looking forward to this, and I had a really good time speaking with you guys. Thank you for the opportunity to be on the show and to talk about DroneQuote. Absolutely.
And if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Excellent question. I appreciate that. So if you want to get a hold of me personally, I invite anybody to reach out to me, because I believe in building bridges and making connections in life, because you never know when you want to cross that bridge for whatever reason. So, reach out to me. I'm available at smontoya@dronequote.net. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find DroneQuote at the DroneQuote, both on Facebook and on Instagram, simply DroneQuote on LinkedIn.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, that's awesome, man. And for all you out there listening, man, go check out the website. Check out the links that are in the show notes here. And if you have any questions, man, shoot him an email, shoot us an email. We will point you in the right direction. Thank you for downloading this episode today. Tell your friends about it. Subscribe to it. All those sorts of fun things. We're glad to have you on board with us. I hope you continue. And man, we're here every Tuesday. So until then, we'll see you later.
See ya.